Good morning. The reading today is from Ecclesiastes 5, verses 8 to 17. If you see the poor oppressed in a district and justice and rights denied, do not be surprised at such things, for one official is eyed by a higher one, and over them both are others higher still. The increase from the land is taken by all. The king himself profits from the fields. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefits are they to the owners except to feast their eyes on them? The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. I have seen a grievous evil under the sun. Wealth hoarded to the harm of its owners, or wealth lost through some misfortune, so that when they have children, there is nothing left for them to inherit. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil that they can carry in their hands. This too is a grievous evil. As everyone comes, so they depart, and what do they gain, since they toil for the wind? All their days they eat in darkness, with great frustration, affliction, and anger.
And then after I do my announcements, I just go into the sermon, right?
I guess, might as well.
Yeah, okay. All right, so lots to share with you, so I thought I would just take some time to do that. And let me see if I can you go to the sermon slide? There we go. And then my first three are here. So we have mentioned this once before. We have an opportunity to host kids, that was the thing. Okay, yes. So kids and the teachers are dismissed to their classes. I know okay. Yeah, if you are a kid or if you are a teacher, you know who you are. I don't know who those people are. Okay, while they are dispersing, we have an opportunity to host a workshop on October the 30th, Dying with Grace. And so it is a program that is taught by Ewan McGregor, and so you see a picture of him here. There is a link that you can use to register. Why are we doing this? If you have had an opportunity to look around in our congregation, I mean, don't look now, but if you were to look around, you would notice that there is a significant portion of our congregation that are at a older stage of their life. They are preparing for downsizing into simpler living arrangements or long-term care or these sorts of issues. There are a lot of things that need to be dealt with related to that. And so we would like to host workshops over the next year or two that are going to be addressing that significant need for our congregation, providing them with information. This one in particular is about end-of-life issues. Now, what's great about this workshop is, as Daniel made clear in Family Time a few weeks ago, everybody has got skin in this one. If you are planning on living, you are planning at some point on dying. And the program has some tremendous good stuff on end-of-life issues and how it should be talked about ahead of time. So Ewan's got a book that he has published, How Should Then We Die? And if you'd like to borrow that, we've got a couple copies. There's an opportunity, if you click the link there, to register for that. We've got much more to say about this. I'll have much more clear things to share about this in the future. But if you are a long-term planner and you want to book off that October 30th, it's a Friday night, and you can be a part of that, we would appreciate it. Second announcement, in response to flood relief. So a number of you have been involved in either cleaning up your own basements or helping neighbors or helping people you know with their situations. We have some training or some opportunity here to receive some training. I'm involved with a pastoral response through something called the Lincoln Action Committee. And one of the things they've required is that I do some training. So there is a course called God's Hope in Crisis Training. And it is this coming Wednesday at Calvary Church in their newly renovated building from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And so the program has this. to say. How can we support friends and neighbors facing suffering and trauma after flood events? Join us at Calvary for God's Hope in Crisis, a free training seminar led by Tristan Klassen of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association of Canada. Learn practical ways to care well, what to say and what not to say in times of crisis. So that's coming up this coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock. My encouragement is to those that would normally gather here for our 7 o'clock Bible study, let's take our show on the road, so to speak, and hear what they have to say here at Calvary. I've been in conversation with one of the ministers there. They've got lots of great stuff planned. It'll be an opportunity to kind of learn how to respond well in situations like what we're dealing with right now. So that's number 2. The third one is going to connect really well with what Erica is going to share with us later this morning on her trip to Liberia through Samaritan's Purse. Samaritan's Purse is bigger than just that. It's bigger than international aid missions. It's also involved in domestic stuff. So there is a Samaritan's Purse like nerve center that has landed and is sitting in the parking lot of New Hope Church in Jordan. And they are coordinating relief efforts out of that location. And you have an opportunity to help out there. They're looking for volunteers to help with cleanup. So they are coordinating all the volunteer efforts through the town of Lincoln, through other churches and other or aid organizations are all kind of going through this one group. And so I've got a number of documents here. There are some sheets at the front, 2 doors. They've got a QR code. It's the same as that QR code there. If you use your phone and click on that link, that'll take you to the volunteer sign up. And you can literally pick any day, and they'll meet you there. They'll do an orientation. They provide a lunch, and they'll give you a plan for what is going to be done. I have already signed up for this coming Friday. I think it is the 21st of August. And you meet at the Jordan New Hope Church at 7:30 in the morning for a quick orientation. And then you have a day of work where they'll plan it for you. You just come and you work. So all the information and the liability sheet, all that stuff is available by clicking on that link. So I'd encourage you to do that. Pick a day that works for you. If you want to join me, you can come this coming Friday and be part of whatever it is that they have for us to do. It's a great opportunity for you to help out. So if you have any question about those 3 things, let me know. Okay, so let's talk about Ecclesiastes. In the 1990s, financial professionals, the ones that do financial planning and that sort of thing, they began to cast about looking for a way to describe something that was starting to become quite commonplace in their field, something that they were having difficulty describing to people. It's a kind of moving goalposts, if you will, an escalating expectation that they found people had. Now, since World War II, there's been inflation. And that's not what I'm talking about this morning. For more than 80 years now, we have observed that our Western economy just has a tendency for prices to go up. In fact, it's got to the point where most of us have never known it any other way. Prices just go up. Whatever the price was last year, well, it'll be up a tiny little bit this year. We almost take it for granted. Now, when people talk about a poverty line, what they're talking about is usually some standard level of income at which you can barely meet the basic essentials. Now, of course, that number keeps going up every year due to inflation. But what financial professionals find interesting, or what they're noticing, is that what people consider to be essentials keeps going up too. Do you know what I mean? Think about the features that come with cars, just as standard features. 20 years ago, cruise control was considered a luxury, and power windows and air conditioning was something that you would pay extra for. Now, I dare you to find a 2026 car that doesn't come with AC. It's become standard. Power windows, standard. Cruise control, standard. All these things that used to be, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, now becomes, hey, the AC isn't working. I'm not going to buy that car unless it has AC. You know what you can't find anymore is window cranks. Like nobody makes a car like that. And you can almost not find a standard anymore either. Everything's automatic. In an average person's house, a dishwasher, the appliance, used to be considered a labor-saving luxury. Now most people wouldn't even consider a kitchen complete without a dishwasher. And what's basic internet now? I guarantee you, whatever you're thinking right now is basic internet was premium like 3 years ago. Some people call this lifestyle creep. Some people call this lifestyle inflation. Other people call it hedonistic treadmill. It's the idea that not only is there inflation, prices are going up, but just the expectations, the appetites that people have are going up and up and up. They're increasing as well. In 1991, famous financial expert Notorious B.I.G. famously said in the hip-hop classic, "Mo money, mo problems. I don't know what they want from me. Mo money we come across, the mo problems we see." Word. Also, J.D. Rockefeller, when asked how much money is enough, famously replied, "Just a little bit more." In the boating world, we call this two-foot-itis. Whatever boat you currently have, you're already looking at another one that's just 2 feet longer. The first apartment you had was wonderful until your friend bought a house. The old phone works just fine until the new one comes out. You finally get the salary that you've always dreamed of and discover that somehow it doesn't fit the way you thought it would. Ecclesiastes knows the feeling. In chapter 5, Lorraine has already read for us this morning in verse 10, "Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income." And then in verse 11, "As goods increase, so do those who consume them. The sleep of the laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much, but as for the rich, their abundance permits them no rest." It's the lie that comes with wealth. Our text this morning reads a lot like the wisdom literature of the book of Proverbs, where it's got those tight little nuggets of wisdom that contrast conventional wisdom on the one hand with the wisdom of God on the other. The teacher, the writer that we are reading from in Ecclesiastes, tells us that wealth comes with a lie. He warns us that wealth will tell us if you just had a little bit more, it would finally be enough. And the truth is, the problem isn't having a lot of money or not having enough money. The problem is asking money to give us something that money can't provide. Money comes with a few lies this morning that I want to talk about. The first one is when wealth says, "I will satisfy you." The teacher says the opposite. The more money you have, the more you will want. That's what the teacher says. You see something similar in social media, whatever the platform is, if it's TikTok, if it's Instagram, or if it's even YouTube Shorts, there's always another video, right? Netflix always has one more recommendation. Amazon always has another deal that you should consider. There is deliberately no stopping point. It never ends. There's always another upgrade, always another renovation. There's always going to be another once-in-a-lifetime trip. There's always another investment. There's always another level of financial security. The problem with more is that more has no finish line. It just keeps going. I think we've all felt that. The key is recognizing what Jesus says, that life is not measured in what you possess. The one who has the most toys at the end wins. That's also a lie. A second lie that wealth comes to us with is that I will make your life easier. You can't buy happiness, so it says. In verse 11, the teacher says, "As good increases, so do those who consume them." In contemporary language, what we might say is, the more stuff you have, the more stuff you have to look after. Once you buy the cottage, now you got to cut the grass. Now you got to maintain the cottage and fix the windows. Once you buy the RV, now you have to store the RV. If you make more money, there will suddenly be lots of people interested in your more money. We think of that possessions will serve us, but when wealth is left unchecked in our lives, we discover that our possessions will begin to own us. Be careful not to get all absolutist here. Now, there's nothing wrong with cottages and nothing wrong with cars. The problem has always been trusting your possessions to do things the possessions can't do. The teacher says the possessions cannot satisfy. The teacher says possessions do not simplify. And finally, wealth tells us, I will make you secure. That is also a lie. If we keep reading in chapter 5, down further in verse 13, the wealth hoarded does harm to its owner. And then I like to turn in verse 14 where it says, wealth lost through misfortune does harm to your kids. It leaves them inheriting want instead of inheriting wealth. The teacher understands something that we would probably not like to think about, and that is that money is powerful, but money is also fragile. All it takes is a recession or a bad investment or a business failure, even a flood or a scam, an illness, a market crash. And the very thing that we think is securing our lives now becomes the thing that is threatening our lives. The sleep of the laborer is sweet, but for the rich, abundance keeps them up at night. Again, the problem's not money. Our problem is that we end up asking possessions to possess powers they don't have. We ask money to tell me I'm safe. Tell me that I matter. Tell me that I've succeeded. Tell me I'm secure. Tell me I'm enough. But money alone can't tell you any of those things. Money cannot guarantee tomorrow. Money cannot make you feel truly loved or seen or understood. Ultimately, money cannot defeat death. Our trouble is found in asking temporary things to give us a permanent reality. And then comes the surprise. The surprising thing that the teacher does in our text this morning, he doesn't conclude that possessions are bad, stop enjoying life. Quite the opposite. Immediately after our passage this morning, the teacher says, this is what I have observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat and drink and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor. This is their lot. And then later in verse 19, he says, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, that's a gift from God. And that's the turn. The answer to greed is not having less, because you'll find there are rich and poor people that are both greedy. And then you'll also find rich people and poor people that live open-handedly and live generously. It's not about how much you have. The answer to greed is not having less. The answer is learning to receive whatever we have as a gift from God, and then receive it, rather than seeing it as a means to some other ultimate end. Throughout Ecclesiastes, the teacher describes God as a giver. God gives life. God gives food. God even gives work and the ability to enjoy a job well done. God is a giver, and we receive God's gifts gratefully. That's the key. The key is to see things as gifts being given. Later, Jesus, when preaching on the Sermon on the Mount, will say, do not store up for yourself treasure on earth where moth and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but instead store up for yourself treasure in heaven, in Matthew 6, 19 and 20. Now, Jesus doesn't just tell us, hey, stop trusting money. Jesus gives us something better to trust. Jesus says, trust the Father in heaven. He knows what we need. Now, the teacher is telling us to move away from questions like, how much do I have? And instead start asking the question, what has God given me? Turn your possessions into a place of gratitude. So one spiritual practice I have for you to consider this morning is to move to living life with open hands, considering all the things that you've got, the good things and even the bad things. In what way are these gifts that I can use, gifts that could be a blessing to me and to others, to move from closed fists to open hands? I have 3 suggestions, 3 practices, if you will. Imagine 2 people that are living with the same exact amount of income. One of them says, "This is mine, I've earned it, and I need to protect it. How do I leverage this so that I could somehow make more?" Meanwhile, the other person with the exact same income says, "This is a gift. How can I enjoy it? How can I share this? How can I use it?" Same amount of money, 2 completely different ways of seeing life. The Christian faith does not require us to pretend like money doesn't matter or that we somehow live as though we don't think about money. That's silly. We know full well that money buys groceries, and when the cost of groceries goes up, we feel it. If we're paying rent, we feel it when rent goes up. The Christian faith, however, offers us freedom from the cycle of conspicuous consumption, always going after what's new, always going after what's next. That same consumptive cycle that we see all around us in the Western culture. If we receive our possessions as a gift from God, here are these 3 practices of freedom that I would encourage you to enjoy. The first one is to enjoy something without upgrading it. I encourage you in the spiritual practice of making it work. You might have grown up in a household where you had a parent that just said, "Make it work," or they did that themselves. I hope you did. I did. And it's a great gift to give people, is this capacity to somehow keep the phone. Don't upgrade it. Just keep it and see if you can make it work. Or drive the older car. What a blessing it is to drive an older car. About a year ago, I bought a 12-year-old car for $3,000, and I've just been working at making it work. And there is something to be said for that. It is a joy. Enjoy it. Just wear the clothes. Don't replace it. Just wear them. Keep wearing them. It's amazing. You can wear a sweater for 20 years and no one really notices. Maybe you've got to be 50 to pull it off, but trust me, it happens. Enjoy what you already have. There is something rebellious today about saying, this is good enough. The second one I want to encourage is the idea of giving something away, being generous in spirit. In Scripture, we read to give to each one who asks. What a great bit of advice. Generosity is not just simply how churches fund their ministries. Generosity is spiritual warfare against greed. Generosity is the way you break the hold of materialism in your life. Every time I give something away, I am declaring to the world that I am not owned by this, that money is not my master. I encourage you to use this practice of generosity, of giving things away. When you see someone that needs something and you have it and don't need it, just give it to them. And find the freedom that comes in that. And finally, a third one, receive ordinary pleasures as gifts. Just simple things, things like a meal, things like coffee with a friend, a walk with the dog, music that you love, a table surrounded by people you love. Notice how none of these things cost a lot of money. But the teacher in Ecclesiastes repeatedly returns to these simple kinds of pleasures because the good life isn't something that we finally achieve. The good life is something that we learn to receive. What I'd like to do for a couple minutes here is the practical application. If we had adult class, this is where we would go with it. But I want you to turn around to your neighbor and chat for a minute and just share with them which one of these 3 things here kind of resonates with you. Which one of these practices would you like to put into practice this week as a declaration against the machine, so to speak, or as a way of practicing freedom from materialism? So I'll give you a couple minutes to talk about this with your neighbor and share, and then we'll come back together. Well, I hope you had an opportunity to share a little bit with your neighbors and take one of these things as homework, something that you're going to do. If we had more time, I would love to say more about the first part of our reading this morning that starts in verse 8. Again, Julie just remarked as Lorena read the reading, like, oh, well, that sure is a ray of sunshine. That was a great reading. Some of this reads kind of depressingly, in particular that first part where he says, don't be surprised when you see corruption finding its way through social circles or structures or finding its way through government. I'm not sure that's the direction the teacher wants to go. I think what the teacher is saying this morning is that wealth is not a private matter, that we tend to think of wealth as an intensely private, something that I don't talk about with other people. We all know well enough that you don't ask somebody how much money they make, or you don't ask people how much money they've spent on certain things. It's just one of the unspokens in our culture. What the teacher is saying is that wealth comes with a whole set of values that are all interconnected. Wealth comes with this network of support and of access that is, you just can't separate it from that. If you have wealth, part of the wealth that you enjoy is your access to it, your ability to get to it and find it. And if you don't have wealth, part of what you're missing is access, not just cash. That's why, if you find somebody that is experiencing poverty and you're just handing them money, you haven't, in a material sense, you haven't really established any new structures or any new supports, and that money will just disappear. And the housing shortage that we have in the town of Lincoln is a perfect example. Oh, how is that, Noel? Oh, I'm glad you asked. I'll share that with you. The solution to housing shortage in the town of Lincoln is not just to build more houses. It's not just money, it's access. Why are there no affordable homes in the town of Lincoln? Our housing industry is built, pun intended, on the premise of a house as an investment. This commoditization of houses makes them follow the rules of supply and demand. And the problem is that here in the town of Lincoln, in fact, all over the world, the problem is there's no incentive for builders to build affordable homes. The market won't build them. It's not an output the market is willing to create. In Beamsville, you might not think it, but in Beamsville, the kind of housing that we need is 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. Now, I hear people complain all the time when they see a 6-story apartment building go up in Beamsville that we don't need that, that's not what we need, and it's going to cause all these problems. The truth of the matter is that you could build 1,000 apartments in Beamsville and fill them in no time at all. There's that many people that want to live in Beamsville and can't afford to buy what's available. Apartments would be filled with people. Right now what we have is basement apartments that are filled with people that would love to live in just a single bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment. They can't find it, so they end up renting an entire basement, which then takes a basement that a family might be able to use off the market. No one's interested in building affordable homes because they can make so much more money building a giant detached 3,000 plus square foot detached home that people from out of town will then come and buy and complete the cycle. Everybody who's less than 30 in the town of Lincoln doesn't have access to wealthy parents, ends up moving to Welland or Port Colborne. Now, this might not bother you, but then you're going to find that the drive-in lines at Tim Hortons are curiously long in Beamsville. Gee, I can't get my Tim's coffee very quickly. They can't seem to find staff at the Tim Hortons. Why won't they just hire staff? It's because they can't find staff that can afford to live in Beamsville. These people have had to move to Welland and to Port Colborne, and they're not going to work the Tims in Beamsville and live in Port Colborne because they're going to work at the Port Colborne Tim Hortons. You'll find the drive-through lines in Port Colborne and Welland work just fine. Why would they do this if they could find an affordable place to live? Anyway, there's much more that could be said about that. If you do want to talk about that, I can surely take you up on that sometime. Anyway, in conclusion, we know the proverb that says you can't take it with you, and Ecclesiastes agrees. We arrived here with nothing, as Lorena read to us this morning, and we're going to take nothing with us. But Christianity offers something remarkable. It adds something. You might not be able to take it with you, but you are going somewhere, and you are going to see someone. You don't need your possessions when you know who it is you're going to see. You don't need your salary to establish your worth. You don't need your investments to guarantee your true future. You don't need another purchase to tell you that life is good or that it's going to be okay or that you're secure, because your life is already held by God. So God invites you this morning to enjoy what life has to give, to share what God has given you, to hold it lightly. While the world might whisper just a little bit more and you'll be fine, or you'll almost have enough if you just had this. But a Christian response is one simple countercultural world. It is enough. Because the richest life may not be the life that finally has everything. It may be the life that has learned that God already has enough.